All right. Yeah, so let's take a look at the feedback.
I'll just look at your screen since speak
Sure.
to yourself. So what were some of like the first things that you had on there? Um,
So in the part that he liked, says that our research questions are good. And let's see, seems like the way that we paired the data with a specific outcome is meaningful. And the data source that we used is credible and recognized. So like that all checks out. And they said that our target audience was really strong. So I think we put in there like faculty, administrators, and legislators. Um, so that all looks good. Yeah, so it looks like that part is good, but the part that he was saying that he's wondering about is that the paper, let's see, where did I just read it? Okay, so it says that we listed a descriptive statistics plan, but we didn't do it through a quant crit lens. So I think we need to strengthen that part of it up. So we need to demonstrate that we're treating the data as a site of power and not just a description of what's happening.
okay. So kind of like we just need to add sort of, yeah, we have this information, but how do we use it in a way that is um, advocating for more equitable or like framing it in more, I guess, without but yeah. Being explicit about the bridge that would strengthen both the internal logic and the credibility of the equity contagious. Okay. So that I feel like we have to be a bit more uh articulate as far as how this supports like equity and so the literature review on current materials like something something. Okay. How funding inequities compounding the first generation or racially minoritized study students earlier in the paper sharpening the theoretical. So we need a little bit more for a how funding uh, for first generation students. Okay, cool. And then as far as the question of quality thinking, we note importantly that associate degree programs do not necessarily predict the future for the post composition and given state because students awesome. If that's true, what exactly is the funding to outcome relationships you're trying to eliminate? That part I was referring to the data, which when we got the data, there was a side note saying that there is it is important to note that it's associated with those don't necessarily predict the future.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so What are you thinking? Is it about an investment and a signal to the institution and equity, but absolute degree production as population level indicator or something together? So it is that show the significant shape which and okay. So we kind of need to figure out what this actually means and like what conclusions we're trying to draw from it, right?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like we need to strengthen the quant crit aspect of it. So that and kind of tidy up like what we're trying to conclude or like what we're trying to pull from this report. So when we started this, the way that I was kind of thinking about it was that it was um, how states invest dollars into like institutions that show like a commitment to equity by increasing like the pool of degree conferrals for students of color in STEM. I don't know like if that was the same way that you were thinking of it or if you had something else in mind.
So we're saying that the investment in equity focused uh, institutions affect degree conferrals. Is that what you're thinking about, or am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, so um like institutions' commitment to equity through using state funding to increase degree refer conferrals for students of color in STEM.
Mhm. Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking too. So
Okay.
instead of it being that this equals this, we can say that or we can say, sorry, I'm like trying to articulate it.
You're okay.
Instead of saying that, like, investment in equity programs supports more uh, degree conferrals for minority like students. Instead of saying that, are we saying that it's a signal? Like we're not just saying like one equals the other, but we're saying that there's a parallel to their investment in a space or their investment in a particular institution, and that indicates a level of equity focus. Is that kind of what
Hmm.
we're thinking?
Yeah, I would say so.
Like their level of commitment, I guess. Yeah, commitment to equity.
Hmm.
Okay, I like that. As far as what's due on Sunday, um, I think it's just giving the data that we have, if I'm understanding, is the technical report.
Hmm.
So it's just outlining, from what I understood, it's outlining what the actual data is and not necessarily going into the analytics of it, but just saying that like this is the data we've pulled, this is the numbers, this is the graphs, this is that information. Am I understanding that right? Or
Yeah, I believe so. Let's see, I have it up right here.
in a lab notebook style. Not a formal paper, but rather a detailed record of your analytical journey, showing your thinking process, the intellect, the analysis you conducted, point any challenges you encountered. Okay. So, description of data sets and preparation steps, documentation of analysis methods with code, adaptable, visual key findings, interpretation of results as they relate to specifically the research question. Should we really hone in our research question then to make it align with uh, the commitment to equity focus? That way we're
Yeah.
both on the same page when we try to put this all together.
Yeah, let's see. So we had What is the relationship between state funding and associate degree outputs in science and engineering between California and Colorado? How does this affect the science and engineering degree attainment for different demographics?
Okay. I see what he was saying about the descriptiveness of it, and
Yeah,
it's less about like, yeah. So why don't we either add in or change one of the questions? Maybe for now, just adding it in. Um,
I'm just going to add a comment here.
so then our research question would be something along the lines of how does state investment in equity programs affect, or no, uh, indicate commitment to equity, sort of?
Indicate commitment to equity,
Yeah, commitment to equity. Uh,
and in degree, like, should we say in degree conferrals or in STEM degree conferrals for students of color?
yeah, or even like we could say like how does uh conferrals or like degree like conferrals in STEM associate with an institution's commitment to equity? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So we can focus on how does state investment indicate commitment to equity, and how do the degree conferrals in STEM. Yeah.
And then what was that second one? How
Um,
do,
how do degree conferrals in STEM uh, by students of color indicate an institution's commitment to equity? I don't know. We can change the wording and stuff too. I'm just trying to get it.
okay.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Oops.
Okay. Yeah. I think that fits that quant crit lens better. So I'll add that in there. That way we have that
Yeah.
documented. You go back to the assignment.
Okay. So then,
So I don't know if we really need to do our own analysis. Like, I'm thinking that means like if
we don't need
like
to.
we're pulling an Excel report and doing something ourselves. So I think we could probably just focus on these top two questions and these bottom two. So if
Yeah,
we want to
because
just split these two up, we can.
yeah, and also the visualization, we probably could use it just straight from you saying that we can just use straight from what we have
Yeah,
seen in our data sets, because it basically creates, it shows the level of funding versus the we don't, yeah, the level of funding and the degree conferrals. And then
right.
we are using QuantCrit to analyze it and understand it. Okay,
Hmm.
perfect. Cool, cool, cool.
All right,
Um,
cool. So which ones do you want to do?
um, I'm good with either. I can do the top two if you want to do the bottom two, or if you have
Sure.
a pull towards the top two, I can do the bottom two.
Yeah, I'll
Either
do the
way.
bottom two.
All right, I'll get the description of the data sets and what does it mean by preparation steps? Like how are we starting our analysis, or say
Yeah, I would say like how we
getting the data?
initially up, yeah. So
Okay.
like so like maybe the sites that we used, how we initially approached like the data analysis, I would say.
Okay. And then as far as types of analysis, uh, let's try to write this down. What did I say? Okay, and then as far as like the analysis method, do we want to just like agree on a particular analysis, or do we want to maybe come back to it? What do you think?
Um,
Could use.
I would say, let's see here. I'm trying to think because we're kind of saying that state funding is tied to equity and degree conferrals, and that degree conferrals is a sign of equity amongst institutions. So it's kind of like a yes or no answer.
Or even like
So,
investment in equity. How
yeah,
equity thinking or equity forward are they?
yeah. So I think you could either do descriptive statistics or you could do correlation. I think either one would work. Descriptive, you probably like use things, you probably use like average, but like correlation, if you do like the yes or no approach, then you're kind of saying like that if there were more dollars invested into institutions, then we're saying that is like an indicator of an increase in degree conferrals for students of color in STEM. So we're
Yeah,
saying that like it's a relational sort of thing.
I would say so. Okay. I think that's kind of what I feel like we're getting at. It's uh, we're showing there's a correlation between the two and then
Mhm.
drawing it. Okay.
Yeah. All right. And then interpretations of results. So that's easy. Like I'll just take a look at the data and see like what it says. Um, like if our research questions are supported by what we're finding in the data or not. And then I think after I do that, I'll have a clearer idea of like what limitations and next steps would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And similar to their thought process, code snippets, visualizations, logical flow, this is clarity and transparency for your input process. Okay. So it doesn't need to be like a paper, I guess. Like it's
No,
less papery. Like when we're looking at this, I didn't think of it as like an MLA thing. It looks like
yeah, I mean, it looks like it doesn't look super formal. Like this is what they have in that example template. So it's a lot of like graphs and stuff. Let's see.
we wouldn't really have this much stuff in ours,
Mm,
though. We would have like a couple graphs and like some data, but I don't think ours is gonna be.
yeah. And it looks like a lot of this other stuff that he has in it was code.
Mhm.
Let's see. Man, he has a lot in this.
That's
This
that's
is
what I'm saying. Like I looked at this and I was like, "There's no way." Uh,
yeah. This looks like it's a log from like a data analysis tool, like
yeah.
saying like all the prompts that he had in it.
Okay.
Um, yeah, there's not even really an explanation
That's
of
why I was
things in here.
I mean, we could probably just, I mean, when it gets to the data part where I'm putting in like the data sets and everything,
Hmm.
that's pretty much what this will look like. And then I'm guessing we just have like a couple paragraphs like explaining again the limitations, the correlation between this and this. This is why we think this is how we're going to analyze it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it doesn't seem super structured, so I think we should be okay.
Okay,
All right. Do we feel good about this?
I do. How do you feel?
Yeah, I feel good.
I
Let's
feel a
see, I'm
lot
gonna
more
stop.
clear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I'm gonna hit stop on the recording really quick.